Tension erupts. Trump declares Canada is listening. Carney's honeymoon crumbles? Prime Minister Mark Carney is facing mounting pressure as China imposes a staggering 75.8% tariff on Canadian canola seeds, a move threatening to devastate the agricultural sector in Western Canada. The timing is critical. This comes shortly after Carney's narrow victory in the April 28, 2025 federal snap election, where he replaced Justin Trudeau as leader of the Liberal Party. Farmers, already grappling with rising input costs, supply chain disruptions, and global market volatility, now confront the real possibility of losing access to China, a market worth billions annually. The stakes could not be higher for Western producers. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was quick to criticize the government, highlighting Carney's conspicuous silence in the immediate hours following the tariff announcement. Instead of addressing the urgent economic threat, Carney posted tweets about International Cat Day, which many observers and farmers perceived as tone-deaf given the financial stakes. Poilievre called for Ottawa to hold Beijing accountable while urgently supporting Canadian farmers, framing his critique as a defense of Western interests rather than a purely partisan attack. The contrast between Poilievre's proactive stance and Carney's delayed response drew widespread attention on social media. Hours later, Carney issued a statement alongside Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe, pledging support for farmers affected by the new tariffs. This announcement echoed previous federal interventions in the steel and lumber sectors, signaling the potential for financial subsidies. Yet, many experts and critics worry these measures are unsustainable. Canada cannot indefinitely bail out every sector hit by international trade disputes, especially as projected federal deficits are expected to rise towards $70 to $80 billion this fiscal year. Questions are mounting about the long-term effectiveness and fairness of repeated government interventions. Earlier in the week, Carney's social media posts touted Canada's enormous economic potential through large-scale infrastructure projects, resource development, and partnerships with Indigenous communities. He positioned himself as a visionary leader focused on long-term growth and economic transformation. However, citizens and commentators alike noted a disconnect. Ambitious, future-focused promises feel distant when immediate economic threats, like the canola tariffs, remain unaddressed. Comment sections were flooded with pointed criticisms questioning timelines and tangible results, with one user sarcastically asking, "It's well past time. What are we building and when will we start?" 2035. Conservative MP Dan Albas underscored the government's lack of immediate action, noting that no new budgets, tariff agreements, or legislation addressing career criminals and anti-energy policies have been implemented. Albas framed Carney as a net-zero zealot, prioritizing climate initiatives over urgent economic concerns. Voters in resource-heavy regions, particularly in Western Canada, may feel overlooked and alienated. These critiques resonated with constituents who see a pattern of selective attention. Carney focuses on Ontario's auto plants and Quebec's steel sector, while Western industries are left waiting. On CBC's panel discussion, while a Liberal representative dismissed Poilievre's approach as overly aggressive, both Conservative and NDP panelists largely agreed with the opposition leader's critique. They highlighted that Carney's selective focus contributes to perceptions of inequity and fuels regional alienation. James, one panelist, emphasized that endless subsidies are neither sustainable nor responsible policy. The government must implement tools that stimulate job creation and global competitiveness, rather than simply compensating for losses caused by international trade disputes. Zane, another panelist, reinforced the role of the opposition in holding the government accountable. He explained that Poilievre's insistence on high-quality trade deals, potentially even tariff-free agreements with the U.S., is essential oversight rather than obstructionist behavior. Waiting until tariffs are fully implemented before responding reflects poor planning and misaligned priorities. By pressing for immediate, tangible results, Poilievre is performing the core duties expected of an official opposition leader, defending both national economic interests and regional equity. CTV reports further highlight Carney's fiscal challenges. His ambitious $130 billion spending plan, which includes significant infrastructure and defense investments, conflicts with promises to reduce government costs and increase efficiency. Analysts warn achieving both goals may be impossible without substantial reductions in public services. Proposed cuts in consultancy budgets alone will not suffice, and the planned increase in defense spending, targeting 5% of GDP by 2035, the largest expansion since World War II, further complicates the government's fiscal strategy and heightens public concern. The pressure on Carney intensified with remarks from U.S. President Donald Trump, who stated, "Canada is listening." While brief, the comment was widely interpreted as a subtle critique of Carney's leadership, highlighting the high stakes of U.S.-Canada trade negotiations. The statement underscores the broader geopolitical pressures Carney must navigate while contrasting with Trump's results-oriented approach to governance. Trump prioritizes delivering concrete outcomes for Americans, regardless of perception, while Carney's handling of the canola tariffs has been criticized for prioritizing appearances over decisive action. Poilievre, in a Global News interview, criticized Canadian media for amplifying anti-Trump sentiment while downplaying the contributions of American companies operating in Canada. Poilievre argued that selective media coverage distorts public perception, creating a skewed narrative around leadership effectiveness and economic outcomes. Meanwhile, Carney's delayed response to the canola tariffs and selective regional focus have intensified skepticism among Canadians, raising questions about whether the Prime Minister prioritizes real results over political optics. The cumulative effect of these events is clear. Carney's honeymoon period appears to be eroding rapidly. Delayed responses to pressing trade crises, ambitious but unfulfilled promises, and a perceived emphasis on appearances over action have intensified public scrutiny. Canadians are increasingly aware of regional disparities, fiscal constraints, and the consequences of government inaction, which amplifies political risk for the new Prime Minister. Public patience is waning as citizens demand concrete results rather than rhetoric. In conclusion, the canola tariff crisis, combined with scrutiny from domestic opposition, media commentary, and international pressure, paints a picture of a government struggling to balance long-term vision with immediate responsibilities. Poilievre's critiques underscore the tension between accountability, national unity, and economic pragmatism. For Carney, the challenge is unequivocal: deliver tangible results for Canadians, particularly in Western provinces, or risk further erosion of trust, credibility, and political support in the months ahead.